Well, first of all, if Hillary Clinton hadn't come within very close to the White House, we would not see the Republicans recruiting obedient women. So it's not really Sarah Palin's fault that she got named to be vice president when obviously she was not prepared for this kind of position. In her current incarnation, she has frequently talked about Mama Grizzlies as being kind of representing right-wing women. And that's such a libel on Mama Grizzlies, who are so different. I actually researched them, inspired by her, and discovered that they are famous for their exertion of reproductive control in their lives. That even compared to other bears, brown bears say, they mate later, they have only 1 or 2 cubs instead of 4. They wait 4 years instead of 2 between having cubs. And even once they're pregnant, if they see that it's going to be a really hard winter, they themselves are not in good health, or the food supply is low, they reabsorb, their bodies reabsorb the fetus. So I mean, they're kind of the prophets. If you wanted to have a totem for reproductive freedom as a fundamental human right, the Mama Grizzlies would be up there. Well, the Democrats, many Democrats in tight races have suddenly started talking about abortion when before, even sympathetic ones who voted for that as a right to privacy and a woman and her doctor make that decision, even they didn't want to talk about it. They sort of hoped it would go away. So as a result, they really don't know how to talk about it, and they confine it to being a social issue. And this is an economic year. Now it happens that, first of all, it's not a social issue. It's a fundamental human right to decide to have children or not to have children. But also, it's the biggest economic influence in a woman's life, whether she can decide when and whether to have children or not. They just are not phrasing it in the proper way, so it makes even voters think, oh, well, 1 in 3 women needs an abortion at some time in her lifetime, and that's only once, and even if it's criminal and even if it's dangerous, the fact is the economy affects us every day. But whether you have children or not is the biggest factor lifetime, in your economic status, or whether you can decide when to have children. So they're just not, they just don't understand how to talk about it, even though we've been trying to say this for 40 years. So I wrote that op-ed in order to try to say to voters, we have to do it. We have to know how these folks stand. For instance, there's a candidate for governor of Illinois named Brady, who not only loves assault weapons, not only thinks that guns should not be registered and all past registrations should be destroyed, but is also against equal pay, against any enforcement of equal pay, and is for the Human Life Amendment, which would nationalize women's bodies. So I mean, this is the perfect recipe for barefoot and pregnant. Women become what these authoritarian groups have in mind, which is cheap labor ourselves as workers and sources of ever more cheap labor.